January wasn't designed to kickstart motion forward, but to help us finally become internally aligned enough that forward movement no longer requires force. And that's the core misinterpretation that many people have been wrestling with. From an evolutionary perspective, January has functioned as an identity unwinding and nervous system level recalibration, a withdrawal from false urgency and a dismantling of any form of momentum that is no longer coherent. The energetic influence throughout this month has focused on reorientation, which typically locks in below the level of conscious choice. That's why so many people have been experiencing less motivation, but without emotional depression or quiet detachment and emptiness, without it needing to mean that something is wrong. A distinct pull towards organizing, simplifying, cleaning, or restructuring our physical spaces, and a stark resistance to normal work unless it involved refinement of some kind or tying up loose ends. If this was a year ago, we might have labeled this as procrastination, but it isn't. It's your system stepping out of an outdated identity loop. So January's been dissolving the old identity in order to reveal the truth in one burning question. Who are you when the pressure to perform is removed? What part of you remains? And that's big. This was the integration phase. So it wasn't dramatic, not really emotional, and not particularly insightful, you could say. But it's also where people were withdrawing socially, where our focus became more narrowed and inner worlds became more compelling than external tasks. That's why organizing and beautifying felt nourishing, why visioning happened without, immediacy. So the key here is that our nervous system was really learning to rest in this new state of being without collapsing into it. And that's a major upgrade. Over the past week, most of us have felt detached but stable and oddly content, even though the situations we were finding ourselves in feel or felt uncomfortable, or that it was familiar but somehow still less activating, or feeling less interested in forcing outcomes, and perhaps feeling a whole lot more selective with your energy and where you're placing your attention. And this is what it feels like when the system is quietly testing coherence. It's like the consciousness of every single cell in the body has organized and is asking, what actually feels coherent with our signal now? Does this still fit? Do we even want to re-enter this pattern? So decisions weren't being made, but everything was being surfaced for reevaluation. So where are we now? Today is January 28th. If it feels different to you, it's because it is different. It's another critical pivot on our collective evolutionary arc. So January 28th reduces in numerology to 3 ones, a 1 month, 2/8 reduces to 10, which is a 1 day, and the year itself reduces to a 1. So even though today carries an amplified energy of 1, it isn't the start of something. The way that this energy is landing today feels like closure or like the sealing off of something important. This is the final triple 1 gateway of January. In fact, it's the final one of the entire year. And unlike earlier ones, it's not initiating a reset. This one is a stabilizer. Think of it like a vertical pillar or an anchor. And today marks the moment that our system finishes recalibrating its internal compass. So it's a point where our new identity is quietly locking in. It's when the nervous system stops scanning for more change and can actually start settling. That's why today may feel noticeably calmer, more grounded, perhaps strangely ordinary, but still in a new way. And a feeling of being complete, even though it's not exciting. So you probably won't feel a surge of clarity yet. That is on its way, but what has landed is less inner conflict, less pressure to justify moving slowly, and a deeper trust in timing, even if it's still kind of unconscious. What our systems are arriving at is the knowing that I am no longer who I was. And it's palpable, even if the mind is still catching up. Over the next 48 to 72 hours, this is when collectively we will begin to re-engage gently. You may already notice yourself softly re-emerging, just having a cleaner signal. And coming out of this 1 month arc, we should feel and find greater clarity that feels more like a quiet knowing, but not a big exciting aha. It's more soft. The decisions feel simpler, less debatable, even less tolerance for noise, and certainly less tolerance for misalignment. And choosing to move only when it feels right, not just because it's on the calendar or because you should. We are coming out of this phase more stable, more clear, and more grounded. So when momentum does return, it'll be selective, it'll be more efficient, and it'll be more internally led, not externally driven. That's why anything that still feels heavy or effortful right now or forced is likely not meant to be reactivated after this January hibernation. So if you want to remain in the greatest coherence as we move through this, there's a few things that you can watch for. 1, let clarity arrive before you take action. The clarity will come. 2, trust your system's subtle signals, not the urgency. Number 3, be okay with detachment. It doesn't mean disconnection. Number 4, be open to reorganization, simplification, and refinement of all kinds. Let that be what carves your path forward. Your nervous system has just completed a major identity reset, and this next phase is not about speed. It's about precision. This is the evolutionary arc that we have been moving through. If this helped you name something perhaps you've been feeling but not able to articulate, you are welcome to like this video. And if you'd like to stay connected as we move through more of this, you can subscribe to my channel. I'm Katya, an identity architect and embodiment translator, and I will see you in the next one.